We begin today with our first assessment of how President Trump and his policies are doing just 3 weeks into his second term. Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He is doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
So that's perception. What about the actual policies?
Well, let's start with the ones that are popular. And again, these echo a lot of what we saw in the campaign. The idea of deporting those in the country illegally continues to be popular. We saw that in the campaign. Sending troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, again, majority in favor. We'd seen that in the campaign. For his supporters in particular, the focus on ending DEI is popular. We had seen in the campaign a lot of them thought those processes had gone too far. There are some other things in here that get more mixed reviews. I will add, the idea of the U.S. taking over Gaza is not seen as a good idea.
Something he floated at a press conference this past week.
He did, but it also gives you a little insight into how people are processing Donald Trump and what he does, because then for a lot of his supporters, they say, well, that's not really his goal, that's a negotiating tactic. And then on tariffs, those are not as popular. Those are things that majority, with the exception of the ones on China.
Why?
People think it will raise prices. And that's important context here, too, because people are still sensitive to price increases. A lot of them report the prices haven't gone down. Remember that Donald Trump won the election on inflation, and that was a big reason. And what we find now is 2/3 of people saying that they don't think the administration is focused enough on lowering prices. And that stands out as one of those big gaps when we talk about initial preferences, initial expectations, and what's getting delivered. That's certainly going to be something to watch.
Well, that's interesting because throughout the campaign, he was abundantly clear that tariffs were something he wanted to use. And we talked quite a lot about possible impact on inflation. I know you also polled on President Trump's work with Elon Musk and this so-called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
We're all kind of learning what it is. What do people think of it?
Well, exactly on that point. We're all sort of learning this, so I think this will take a while to play out. Initially, you get very partisan responses on the role that Elon Musk should or should not play. You get a majority of Republicans saying you should have at least some influence, though it's more of the MAGA base that really wants him to have a lot, and a lot of Democrats in opposition. You know, part of this is, too, the broad goals of cutting spending, of cutting foreign aid, have things that have long been in the polling popular with Republicans. But in terms of the impact and approach, that may take a while for people to really see it play out.
How you do it, and we'll be talking about that ahead on the program. Anthony, thank you.
Thank you.